Among history's most remarkable figures, Princess Margaret of Connaught was born on the 15th of January, 1882, in the quiet town of Bagshot Park, located in Surrey, England. She became known not just for her royal roots, but for the heartwarming life she led far from home. What shaped her destiny? How did a British princess end up as the beloved Crown Princess of Sweden? What made her life both joyful and heartbreaking? Please watch my full video until the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please make sure to share it with your friends. Thank you. Now, let's dive into the full story. Margaret was born on a cold day in January. Her birth was seen as an exciting moment in the British royal family. From the very start, her life was surrounded by tradition and ceremony. When she was just a baby, she was baptized in the private chapel of Windsor Castle. Her grandmother, Queen Victoria, was one of her godparents, showing just how important Margaret was to the royal family. People in her family lovingly called her Daisy. She grew up in a royal world filled with rules and elegance. But she also enjoyed being with her family and taking part in special events. One of her earliest big moments was being a bridesmaid at the wedding of the Duke and Duchess of York in 1893. Even as a child, Margaret showed kindness, curiosity, and a sense of duty. She was taught at home and learned from some of the best tutors. Her early life was shaped by love, discipline, and royal expectations, setting the stage for the extraordinary journey that lay ahead. Princess Margaret of Connaught came from two powerful royal families, each with a rich history of influence across Europe. Her father, Prince Arthur, was the Duke of Connaught and Strathearn. He was the third son of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom and Prince Albert. Her mother, Princess Louise Margaret of Prussia, came from the royal house of Germany. This connection made Margaret part of a grand network of royal families that stretched from Britain to Germany and beyond. Being a granddaughter of Queen Victoria, Margaret was born into a world of great responsibility and high expectations. Queen Victoria had many children, and through them, the British royal family was connected to nearly every other royal house in Europe. Margaret's place in this family gave her a special role from birth. She was not just a princess by name, but a key figure in the royal world of the time. Her ancestry included kings, queens, dukes, and duchesses who had helped shape European history. On her British side, she descended from the famous House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, which later changed its name to the House of Windsor during World War I. On her mother's side, she was connected to the House of Hohenzollern, a powerful dynasty in Germany. These family roots shaped Margaret's upbringing and destiny. Her parents made sure she understood the importance of her heritage and the duties that came with it. They raised her with values of service, loyalty, and discipline. This deep royal lineage helped prepare her for the public life she would later lead as the Crown Princess of Sweden. Princess Margaret of Connaught spent her childhood surrounded by royal tradition, yet she was known for her gentle and kind personality. As the daughter of Prince Arthur and Princess Louise Margaret, she grew up in the British royal household where expectations were high and education was taken seriously. Margaret was taught at home, as was common for royal children at the time, and she was guided by well-qualified tutors. Her studies included languages, history, literature, and the arts. Her teachers noticed her strong curiosity and eagerness to learn. She especially enjoyed reading and painting, which became lifelong passions. Though her education was strict, Margaret always tried her best, and she quickly gained a reputation for being graceful, thoughtful, and respectful. While she was still young, Margaret began attending royal ceremonies and important family events. She appeared in public alongside her parents and sister, representing the British royal family with pride and poise. In 1893, she served as a bridesmaid in the wedding of her cousins, the Duke and Duchess of York, which was one of her first major royal duties. Even in her youth, Margaret understood the responsibility of being a royal. She balanced her studies with her growing role in the public eye. Her childhood prepared her for a life filled with service, tradition, and the unique challenges of being a royal figure admired across nations. Princess Margaret's journey to love began unexpectedly during a family trip. In the early months of 1905, she traveled with her parents, the Duke and Duchess of Connaught, to Egypt and Sudan. It was during this trip that she met Prince Gustav Adolf of Sweden, the grandson of King Oscar II. Their meeting had not been planned with romance in mind. In fact, it was Margaret's sister, Princess Patricia, who had been considered a potential match for the Swedish prince. However, fate had other plans. When Margaret and Gustav Adolf met, they quickly grew close. It did not take long for love to blossom. At a dinner held at the British consulate in Cairo, Gustav Adolf proposed to Margaret, and she happily accepted. Her parents were overjoyed with the match, seeing it as both a personal and diplomatic success. The wedding took place on the 15th of June in 1905 at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. It was a grand event attended by members of royalty from across Europe. Margaret's bridesmaids included her sister Patricia and several cousins. The couple's honeymoon was spent at Adair Manor in County Limerick, Ireland. In early July, the newlyweds arrived in Sweden, where Margaret would begin her new life. One of her wedding gifts, the Connaught tiara, remains part of the Swedish royal jewelry collection today. Margaret also received a marriage settlement from her parents, ensuring her comfort and security. This royal union was more than a political alliance. It was a true love story. Margaret and Gustav Adolf shared deep affection, and their marriage became a strong foundation for their future as Crown Prince and Princess of Sweden. After marrying Prince Gustav Adolf, Princess Margaret became the Crown Princess of Sweden in 1907, when her father-in-law, King Gustav V, took the throne. Moving from the British royal family to the Swedish court was a big change, but Margaret embraced her new role with grace and determination. In Sweden, she was called Margareta, and quickly began learning the Swedish language. She also asked to be taught Swedish history and social customs. Margaret was eager to understand the country and its people. At first, some thought she seemed too serious. But over time, she won many hearts through her love of sports and her warm personality. Margaret and Gustav Adolf had 5 children together. She was deeply involved in raising them, which was not common for royal mothers at the time. She preferred to care for them herself instead of relying on nurses or royal staff. Her love for her family and dedication as a mother made her beloved in Sweden. The couple lived in several royal residences but spent many happy summers at Sofiero Palace, a gift they received on their wedding. Margaret helped design the gardens there, turning them into a beautiful and peaceful retreat for her family. Their marriage was not just a royal duty, it was a true partnership. Gustav Adolf, raised in a strict home, found comfort in Margaret's softer British ways. Her influence helped bring a sense of warmth and elegance to the Swedish royal court. As Crown Princess, Margaret became known for her kindness, energy, and her efforts to bring positive change to Swedish society. Beyond her royal duties, Princess Margaret of Connaught had many personal interests that showed her creative and caring nature. She had a deep love for art, especially painting. Inspired by artists like Claude Monet, Margaret enjoyed painting scenes of nature and daily life. Her artworks often reflected peaceful gardens and beautiful landscapes. She also loved photography and took many pictures of her family, her travels, and the world around her. This hobby allowed her to capture precious memories and share moments with loved ones. Gardening, however, was perhaps her greatest passion. At Sofiero Palace, her summer home in Sweden, Margaret helped design the gardens in the traditional English style. She worked alongside her husband and children, turning the estate into a blooming paradise. The gardens at Sofiero became famous, admired for their beauty and cared for with personal attention. Margaret also shared her love for gardening with the public. In 1915, she published a book called Our Garden at Sofiero, followed by From the Flower Garden in 1917. These books included her own drawings and photographs. The money earned from these books was used to support schools that taught childcare and household skills. Her creative talents made her stand out as more than just a royal figure. She found joy in simple things like painting flowers, capturing family moments with her camera, and digging in the soil of her beloved gardens. Through her hobbies, Margaret connected with people in a way that felt personal and inspiring. These interests brought her peace and allowed her to give something meaningful back to society. During World War I, Princess Margaret of Connaught used her position to help others in meaningful and compassionate ways. Even though Sweden stayed out of the war, Margaret was deeply moved by the suffering it caused across Europe. She supported many efforts to provide aid and comfort to those affected, especially soldiers, the poor, and families in need. She started a group called the Crown Princess's Central Supply for Home Guard clothing and equipment. This group made clothes and gathered supplies for Sweden's military forces. Margaret also responded to the shortage of paraffin by organizing a large candle collection. In 1917, she created a new program to train girls to work on farms, helping support the country's food production. One of her most touching efforts was helping prisoners of war. She worked to send letters, trace missing men, and deliver personal messages across borders. Margaret's work helped reconnect families and brought hope during dark times. She focused on helping British prisoners the most, showing her strong connection to her home country. That same year, she began the Margaret Fundraiser for the Poor, helping those who were struggling financially. Her actions stood in contrast to her mother-in-law, Queen Victoria of Sweden, who is known for being strongly pro-German. Margaret's support for the British side, along with her husband's growing support for reform, helped keep peace in Swedish politics. Through her social work, Margaret became a symbol of kindness and hope. She used her royal status not for privilege, but to ease the suffering of others and bring people together in a time of crisis. Princess Margaret of Connaught's journey from the British royal family to the Swedish court was not always easy, but she worked hard to build strong relationships in her new country. At first, some members of the Swedish royal family, especially her mother-in-law, Queen Victoria of Sweden, found Margaret's ways quite different. Margaret's British upbringing was more relaxed compared to the strict Prussian traditions followed in Sweden. This created a quiet tension in the beginning. However, Margaret's kindness, charm, and dedication slowly won people over. She respected Swedish customs while also sharing her own ideas. Her husband, Prince Gustav Adolf, found comfort in her gentle nature, which helped him move away from the strict upbringing he had known. Margaret helped bring warmth and elegance to the Swedish court, blending British and Swedish cultures in a beautiful way. The Swedish people admired her. They saw her not only as a princess, but as someone who truly cared. Whether it was helping the poor, supporting soldiers, or creating beautiful gardens, Margaret touched many lives. Her willingness to learn the Swedish language, travel across the country, and understand local life made her even more beloved. By the time she had fully settled into her role, Margaret was no longer seen as an outsider. She had become a shining light in Sweden's royal family, loved by the people and respected within the palace. The life of Princess Margaret of Connaught came to a sudden and heartbreaking end on the 1st of May, 1920. At that time, she was 8 months pregnant with her 6th child. In the days leading up to her death, Margaret had been suffering from pain in her face and near her right ear. Doctors believed the problem was related to an infection that had worsened after a past case of measles. On Thursday, Signs of erysipelas, a serious skin infection, appeared under her ear. By Friday night, her condition had become much worse. At around 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, the 1st of May, Margaret died at the Royal Palace in Stockholm. She was just 38 years old. Her death happened on the same day as her father's 70th birthday, adding even more sadness to the moment. The cause of death was blood poisoning, also known as sepsis. News of her passing shocked both Sweden and the British royal family. Prime Minister Ed Hjalmar Branting described her as the ray of sunshine at Stockholm Palace, and many agreed. She had been known for her warm spirit, kind heart, and dedication to her people. After her death, some rumors spread in Britain that she had been unhappy in Sweden, and even that her death was a suicide. However, those close to her denied such claims. Margaret had left behind written wishes from 1914, asking to be buried in her wedding dress with her veil, holding a crucifix in a simple coffin made of English oak. Her funeral was private and honored her wishes completely. Her sudden death left a hole in the hearts of many. Margaret's life, filled with love and service, ended far too soon. The news of Princess Margaret's sudden death in May of 1920 shocked people across Sweden and around the world. She had been a beloved figure, not just as the crown princess of Sweden, but as a symbol of grace, kindness, and modern royal leadership. In Sweden, the nation mourned deeply. Flags were lowered, and many people gathered in silence outside the royal palace to show their sorrow. Newspapers called her death a great national loss. Prime Minister Ed Hjalmar Branting's words, "The ray of sunshine at Stockholm Palace has gone out," were repeated by many who felt the warmth she had brought to the royal family. People remembered her for her charitable work, her love of Sweden, and her caring nature. Her sudden passing was especially heartbreaking because she had been expecting a child and was full of plans for the future. In the British royal family, sadness was felt deeply as well. Margaret had remained close to her British roots and family throughout her life. Queen Mary and King George V offered their condolences, and the British press covered the story with great sympathy. Despite some rumors in Britain that she had been unhappy in Sweden, most reports celebrated her life and legacy. Margaret's memory lived on as a bridge between two royal houses and a symbol of hope, love, and dedication to others. Princess Margaret of Connaught left behind a powerful legacy that lived on long after her tragic passing. In Sweden, she was remembered not only as a crown princess, but as a woman of action, creativity, and compassion. Her influence was felt in many areas of society, from her royal duties to her work in art, gardening, and charity. The gardens she helped design at Sofiero Palace became one of her most loved contributions. These English-style gardens still attract visitors today, and many see them as a living tribute to her memory. Margaret was buried with deep respect at the Royal Cemetery on Karlsborg Island in Solna, Sweden. Her grave rests beside those of her husband, King Gustav Adolf, and his second wife, Louise. Her burial followed the wishes she had written in 1914, simple, peaceful, and full of personal meaning. She was laid to rest in her wedding dress, with a crucifix in her hands, inside a coffin made of English oak. In the years that followed, several memorials honored her life. In the year 2000, a British rose breeder, David C. H. Austin, introduced a flower named Crown Princess Margareta. This beautiful rose, with its rich color and strong fragrance, remains a symbol of her love for gardens and beauty. An exhibition titled Daisy, Crown Princess Margareta, 1882 to 1920, opened in 2021 at the Royal Palace in Stockholm. It showcased her photographs, paintings, and personal items. Through these tributes, Margaret's story continues to inspire people who admire her for her gentle strength, creative talents, and loving heart. Her legacy is one of light and grace, a lasting reminder of a royal life lived with purpose and warmth. Princess Margaret of Connaught's life may have been short, but her impact was lasting and meaningful. She represented a new kind of royal figure, one who combined duty with heart, tradition with progress, and elegance with real compassion. Her ability to connect with people, whether through her charity work, her art, or her presence in public life, made her beloved both in Sweden and in the British royal family. Margaret's influence helped soften the image of the Swedish monarchy. Her gentle nature brought warmth to the royal court, while her work during World War I showed that royals could play a powerful role in serving their country without picking up a sword. She believed in using her voice and status to help others, and that belief guided her every action. Her legacy also lives on through her children and grandchildren. One of her sons, Prince Gustav Adolf, became the father of King Carl XVI Gustaf, the current King of Sweden. Her daughter, Princess Ingrid, became Queen of Denmark and the mother of Queen Margaret II. In this way, Margaret's bloodline and values continue to shape European royalty today. Though she died young, Margaret's story is a reminder that a meaningful life is not measured by its length, but by its depth. Through her art, her kindness, and her work, she left behind more than memories. She left behind a lasting example of love, service, and quiet strength. Thank you very much for watching.